Hi, welcome. On this video, I'd like to discuss the issue of a motivator. And again, the question is, well, when is using a motivator such as even praise, reward, something the dog likes? Again, this goes into that whole learning narrative that when you give a dog something that they like for a desired response, it is more than likely that that response is going to happen again. Okay, now, again, so when you talk about a motivator, the typical mainstream learning-based narrative is based off of motivating the dog to respond certain ways and then defining those positions or how a dog responds as meaningful, as representative that good things are happening. Now, again, this is where I say very clearly, is that is not the criteria. You have to understand that's been built up over many, many years. This whole popular learning-based roadmap has been the kind of go-to, the default position of dog trainers, of mainstream, what I define as mainstream dog training. So the issue of getting your head around the problem here, I'll admit, it takes some work. It's probably going to come more so through, say, if you're a dog trainer who is going to be exposed to this picture more than just, say, the average dog owner who has like a dog that they want to help overcome, their behavior issues. The advantage that a dog trainer would have is that they are going to be able to line this up better. They're going to be able to make sense of it. But here's the encouragement, that even if you're an average dog owner, if you take everything I say and apply it into the human world, say with dealing as a parent, it's going to make sense at some level. It just is. It lines up almost perfectly in a lot of ways. Why it is that this whole learning-based narrative is such a problem for many, many dog owners, is just by going through just response and just basing that on something good happening without considering, okay, the motives in play. Just like in the human world, the motives of people, you can be deceived into thinking certain things just off of response that is totally disconnected from reality, based on where the relationship is actually heading. So the issue, again, when I talk about a motivator, I understand that this is the thing about people ask me, well, Dale, when is it okay to reward my dog? And because it's very difficult, I see it all the time. I see the look on dog owners' faces when I'm, getting them to, again, it's interaction based, and the dog's coming into agreement with and going into positions which are different to this system. So the dog is going into a sit position. It is framing up well, and then the tendency for the dog owner is like want to pet the dog, right? Want to say good boy, and the look on their face would say, hold on, don't do that, and trying to reconcile that, say, well, I mean, why can't I do it? It looks good, it feels good to me, and see, you have to get your head out of that. Say, well, no, this is a relationship problem. Okay, the dog already has a high level of control. You're not even midway through the process. You're just beginning the process. So you have to be aware that the dog, yes, that's good. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to ever take away from the fact that that's good, but you cannot lean on and begin to step out of your focal point, your role with leadership, because how the dog sees that is weakness. Okay, the dog's already pegged you. So the context of rewards and motivation and praising the dog, it takes on a different meaning for that dog. That dog has already gained control in the relationship. And so be no different than being a parent and letting your guard down to say, well, I'm just gonna, things are good and I'm just gonna loosen things up. It has to hold integrity. That's the thing to understand. It's very intentional with how change frames up relationally, with understanding that your focus has to stay consistent. This leadership has to key up, not just leadership, but influence. Okay, how the perception of the dog changes through that. You have to meet the criteria. So you're in a deficit, a major deficit. Most people don't understand it. So this is why when you start to, you'll see it, when you start to praise that dog and pet the dog for a position that you think's okay, even through the system, if you do that too soon, without understanding, that dog will start to flame up. Okay, they'll start to go into high challenge, because to the dog, that's like a drug. Okay, it's a whole different context. So again, just understand it's a lot. It's deeper than just a appearance of something. Okay, appearances are just one thing. You have to there's depth. Okay, it's about understanding not just how a dog responds, but it's about understanding relationship. Okay, where you're at, where you want to go in the process, and what needs to happen. So again, by understanding this issue about when is it okay, okay, because we can get into that. It's about sequencing. Okay, once you've created a good level of relational change, once you've come into right relationship, once you've hit those marks, those benchmarks have been met. And again, there's a way to see that. Okay, I'll talk about that on other videos, but there's indicators there that will show you, will give you a good foundation. Say, okay, the picture's good now. Everything's coming together really well. Then when you say good boy for certain things, say if you want the dog to do certain things, that's okay. Okay, that type of motivation or to mark certain things is different meaning because the relationship's been fixed now. I want people to really get this. So the idea about, and this is hard for people because we have, number one, we have certain expectations of things, okay? And especially when their thinking has already been sideways. Say they've already been highly emotionally invested and they're governed by emotion and about feelings and how things feel. This type of thinking, getting people to get switched around, can be very, very challenging, okay, for a good segment of the population because they desire that, okay? It's a human tendency to want that. Like, how's this going to make me feel? But it's no different. Again, look at parenting. It's the same stuff. If we make it about our feelings, then we're going to miss the depth of what's really happening because we're just looking at one level of things. Okay, and again, this is about understanding how this layers up. It's like a cake, layers of a cake. You have to understand how this layers up. And so, but you have to be able to get to a point when you understand the layers. Okay, you understand the sequence of things. This issue about, and again, just understand, if you look at the dog training world, you'll see it. It's so popular for dog trainers to package training up that way, to look for some way to motivate the dog, to paint the picture, and not look at anything deeper than that. Okay, and then wonder why, and then suddenly and then be so kind of blinded. It should make total sense to people why there's problems, or why these things don't line up. It does to me because I see it. But you have to begin to step back from it and be able to look at the patterns. Okay, look at the personality types. Look at what's going on here, and you'll see how everything lines up. Okay, it's very intentional. The dominoes all fall certain ways. Once you begin to really step back from it and begin to understand what the process is, this issue about control, how dogs can hold control through a process, and things can look great at one level but be a total disaster at another level. It all makes sense. But there is a thing where this idea about praise and reward, it has its place, but you have to sequence that out. You have to know when that comes online at a certain level, because, for example, is that based on how I think, and this is why it's very deceiving with how you see how things kind of play out. I could start off with a puppy and I could be doing certain things and it has different meaning for me based on that I think different. Okay, that I already meet the criteria. And so that's going to play out differently than someone else doing that who doesn't think the same way, and then they wonder why they get all these behavior problems happening. So it's about context of that. It's relationship. It's understanding the meaning, the depth of that. So anyway, just something to think about. I want to talk about this issue about motivators, help people sort through it, navigate it, take the confusion out of it, and understand why it's so important that when you approach the process, you have to understand what the process is intended to do, what it represents, what's really happening beyond just the appearance of things. So thanks for watching.